although exercise is very important, exercise alone is not going to get you there. So then people say, well, 80% of fitness is nutrition. That's one of the sayings that I learned in the fitness arena. And it is true. Like when you add fitness along with your exercise regimen, it adds a tremendous amount of value, because now it not only increases your ability to burn fat, especially if you're eating a whole foods plant-based diet that's alkaline, you're going to be having a lot of fiber in you, which is going to be cleaning out of your gut. So you're going to be losing weight just simply by having that fiber cleaning out of your gut and making you more regular. You're going to have a tremendous amount of nutrients going into your body, which is also going to increase your ability to burn fat. But even that isn't enough in many cases, because I work with a lot of people who have gone plant-based, who've been vegetarian for 20 years, who've been alkaline, and although they feel really healthy, they still don't burn the fat, okay? And so after learning that, and they come to me and they're like, well, I'm eating really healthy, I exercise, and it seems like I still can't get rid of this very resistant belly fat, or the fat under my arms or in my thighs or on my buttocks. I'm trying to figure out, how do I get rid of this fat, and why is it that I've done what they said? I exercise, I eat right, and I still am not really, can't get rid of this belly fat. And so that's what I want to go into today. Most people don't understand that there's different types of fats, okay? So you have subcutaneous fat, and this is the fat that's right beneath the skin. That's the fat that if you pinch it, it will come, right? That's your subcutaneous fat. But there's another type of fat that is even more dangerous, and it's called visceral fat. The visceral fat is the fat that you have in this area, okay? And this is the type of fat that is the most dangerous, that we typically call belly fat, okay? It's not only the most dangerous, but it's the most difficult to get rid of. And I'm gonna explain why it's so difficult to get rid of in a second, okay? Because you've seen people who work out in the gym, their arms get nice, their legs get nice, and the belly just stays, okay? So I'm gonna talk about that in just a second. And the reason why that fat is so difficult is because that fat is different. That fat is secreting large amounts of toxicity out in the body on a daily basis. That fat is increasing your blood pressure. That fat is increasing inflammation all over your body. And that fat is increasing your blood sugar and your insulin. Insulin is a fat storage hormone, okay? It tells the body to store fat, okay? So the more insulin you produce, okay, as a result of eating the type of foods, that produce visceral or belly fats, the more it will tell the body to store fat. So you do not want to tell the body to store fat. So we're going to talk about why nutrition is one of the things that is part of that prescription to burning fat and increasing muscle. The other thing that's very important is that when you eat a standard American diet, which is 60 to 70% toxicity, because those are processed, refined foods, that means that you're going to put all those chemicals, when you turn it on the label and you see it and it sounds like chemistry, over 60% of the ingredients sound like chemistry and very little sound like whole foods. That is what is increasing the toxicity in your body, okay? The things that you put on your skin, the hygienic and cosmetic products that you put on your skin, that toxicity coming to the body, that toxicity loves fat, okay? It loves fat, okay? And because it's fat loving or fat soluble, meaning it dissolves in fat, it's going to be attracted to it. So when it comes into the body, it's going to hide out into the fat. And that's a good thing, because that toxicity is very acidic. And if it were in the blood or streaming through the organs, it will cause a lot of damage. And so the body in its ingenuity says, let's put it in the fat, it'll be safe here, okay? Now that's only to a certain level, once it gets past a certain level, now you start to see disease form in the body. But it's important to know and understand toxicity. If you eat the standard American diet, you love sugar, salt, crunchy things, fried things, just standard American foods in a box, bag, can, jar. This is toxicity coming in your body. It's going to go into your fat, and it's going to tell your body to not burn fat, because when you burn the fat, it's going to release the toxins. And that's what your body does not want to do. The other really dangerous thing about this type of fat is it creates an enzyme called aromatase that increases the estrogen in the body. And this is an issue not only for women, but for men too, okay? So when you eat these processed toxic foods, it's going to increase the fat in your body, thereby the fat adipose tissue, which is a living organ now, is creating aromatase, which is creating more estrogen. Eventually, it will create this condition known as estrogen dominance, a lot of estrogen in the body. And for men, that will lead to man boobs, okay? It will also lead to hair loss. It will also lead to low testosterone levels, which leads leads to impotence or erectile dysfunction. In women, that's going to lead to PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. It can lead to fibroids. It can lead to breast cancer. It can lead to a very painful menstrual cycle, a heavy menstrual cycle, a longer menstrual cycle, okay? And most people don't know that excess fat is doing that, okay? And this is a huge issue, especially here in America, because 70% of the population is either overweight or obese. 70%. So it's a huge issue in the population at large. And the other thing that this type of fat does is it absorbs your vitamin D. So you may be taking in sunlight and taking in vitamin D through your foods, but the fat will actually absorb your vitamin D because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin and it's really a hormone, okay? But that's for a whole nother video. It will absorb that hormone because it's fat-soluble. It loves fat, okay? So now your vitamin D levels are low, and we've known through the studies, according to these studies that have been produced during the pandemic, that when people have a vitamin D level below 50, it increases their risk for severe infection immensely, okay? Not only their risk for infection with things like, what we're experiencing during this pandemic, trying to skip over these words, but it also increases your ability to get infected from any and all infections. And not only infections, but cancer as well, okay? So hugely important, all right? It's important to get rid of this type of fat. It is very dangerous to the body. Like I said before, it increases your blood pressure, it increases your risk for stroke, your risk for heart disease, it increases your risk for diabetes, it also increases your insulin resistance, which is your fat storage hormone. Insulin says, body, store fat, I want fat. So we do not want to tell the body to do that. So I'm gonna give you about 4 to 5 ways that you can get rid of all these things that I just talked to you about. The first thing is do no harm. You gotta stop eating the foods that are causing this issue in the first place. So you gotta transition and adopt a whole foods plant-based diet, because these are the foods that are gonna have not only the least amount of toxicity, okay, but these are the foods that are gonna be nutrient dense and high in fiber. And this is what tells the body to not store fat when you have a lot of nutrition. It's like going to Mickey D's and getting a number 1, and then people can eat a number 2 and get a side of this and a dessert. It's because the food is nutrient poor, okay? So first, do no harm. The second thing is eat to live. You gotta eat a whole foods plant-based diet, because that food is gonna contribute to your health, okay? And when you're healthy, your body has an increased ability to not only burn fat, but to fight off any kind of infection, to repair the body, etc. The third thing that's gonna be really important, and when it comes to, being able to burn fat, is also you gotta work out, you gotta exercise, okay? But I always tell people, if you wanna look athletic, like I hear people, oh, I want abs. Well, if you wanna look athletic, which is abs are athletic look, you gotta train athletic. Now, for a lot of you, in the beginning, you may not be ready for that physically to do that. So I highly recommend start slow and move up slow, okay? And you can train around what's known as your target heart rate, or 220 minus your age. And that will actually help you burn some fat moderately, okay?